Hey everybody. Here's a reading I'm going to do for y'all tonight for the LA Book Fest, and what I'm going to read from is from my fiction collection, All That Withers. There it is, from Jason and Cindy Brock at Psychiatric Press. They put this lovely tome out a few years back, and I'm going to read a bit from a story of mine that's been reprinted a lot called Outlaws of Hill County. Now, Outlaws of Hill County has the notoriety of being my most reprinted story. It's been reprinted all over the world several times. So that's pretty much its story. And the reason I chose this one is because it is a Halloween story, and it has a creature called the Longfellow that stars in it. All right, so without further ado, let's have some fun here. The Outlaws of Hill County. It was the night before Halloween. The Longfellow sucked Jenny Lou Harrison's soul right through her fingers. Bright red strands connected her freshly blackened fingertips to his. She wiggled and cried. And I just stood there by that big oak tree outside her room and watched, unable to do a damn thing to stop the Longfellow's terrible meal. When he was done, he hurried out of her room, out her window, and made it into the crest of the tree above me. I hunkered down, scared it might see me and make me its next meal. It didn't. Instead, the Longfellow bowed his head to me. He had a face with two large gray eyes, a long nose, and a mouth filled with small jagged fangs that reminded me of broken shards of glass. All the acid in my stomach rose up. My balance went out on me, and I buckled down against the trunk, hugging that oak tree with the single ounce of energy I had left. His hot breath blanketed the back of my head and neck. My hands wiggled uncontrollably like the old men at Tully's Tavern who'd courted years of whiskey. Once I rolled onto the grass, my body gave out. My sick hit the dirt. The smell of my own cooked bile made my guts clench. Above me, the Longfellow climbed the oak tree. Branches moaned and leaves rustled. Several twigs dropped near me. I wanted to get a better look at the Longfellow, see what kind of being could turn someone sick with its own will, see how such a thing drained the life from poor, pretty Jenny using only its unholy fingertips. Harvest Hill felt colder that night than any other night I remember, even though it wasn't yet winter. Part of me believes the Longfellow sucked every ounce of warmth and comfort from the air along with what he stole from Jenny Lou. My throat felt dry and sore. The few inches I managed to raise made my head spin. You gotta stay awake, I thought. The Longfellow's still here. My body didn't listen. As I drifted off, I watched Jenny Lou fade away. I woke late that night. At first I thought I'd fallen from the tree and knocked myself out. Something deep inside didn't want to believe the Longfellow had returned to Harvest Hill. Maybe that's why I dismissed seeing Jenny Lou's still body through her window as just her sleeping. Hurrying from her house, I did my best to tuck my hair under my leather jacket's collar to try and keep a little warmer. One of the benefits of keeping your hair long, I guess. That and everyone seemed to know where I stood concerning the war. I wasn't one of them, after all. Never thought going to Nam was a good idea. We have enough trouble here at home. I couldn't stop remembering things about Jenny Lou. We went out a few times, but always with a group, never just her and me. I would have loved to, of course, and was working up the courage to ask her. That was before the Longfellow came and took away any chance of that ever happening. Once I was in bed, I couldn't sleep. My mind raced with images of the Longfellow. No one would believe what gotten me sick. The Longfellow was something the kids sang about. He wasn't real. When the night gets long and the day goes quick, you better hide inside or you might get sick. Out come the Longfellow playing his tricks, sucking your soul through your fingertips. All of us knew the rhyme. We grew up singing and scaring each other with the Longfellow stories. Legend was he'd down the mountains on Halloween every year to feed on kids. He'd put out his hands and pull your essence from your fingertips, leaving them black and shriveled. you'd never be the same. So what was I supposed to do? I knew what I'd seen, but knew no one was going to believe me. Well, I thought, just keep your mouth shut and forget it. I raised my head and body on the pillow. My stomach felt better being elevated. It wasn't as comfortable as being all curled up, but eventually, sleep found me. So obviously that was just an excerpt of The Outlaws of Hill County, and starring the Longfellow. And the story, if you didn't catch it, takes place in the 60s. And the Outlaws of Hill County are actually a motorcycle gang that play into it later in the story. So it's a pretty fun story. Thanks for listening, and thanks for supporting the festival. And we'll see you on the other side. Have a great Halloween. Bye.